Hi, my name is Jennifer Aaker. I'm the General Atlantic Professor at Stanford University. It's a delight to be here with you. I wanted to share a little bit about some of the courses we teach, the research we do, and some of the hopes that I have for this conference, for humans, for our future. To start, though, I want to share, I've been asking myself a slightly weird question lately, which is, could AI help us die better? I warned you it was super weird. I grew up hearing stories of people dying. All my life, my mom has been a hospice volunteer. And so she shared stories about her work around the dinner table, about how people died, what they wished for in their last days of life, because it was her role to listen to those wishes. We're a fun family, and this is what fun families do. Today, I'm also a death doula, volunteering to help people to have the best, most beautiful possible deaths. But in that process, have been learning what actually creates the best, most beautiful life, full of love, secured meaning, and purpose in the lives they lived. But in that process, I've also seen people who have expressed regrets, and I wanted to share the three most frequent. One is, I wish I had been more authentic. I wish that I had lived more to my true self. The second is, I wish I lived more boldly. And the third is, I wish I had the chance to say, I love you one more time. Authenticity, boldness, connection, or love. These are the core to human experience, and they are the things that people often wish for in their last days of life. So these are the markers of what I'll call a beautiful life, but also define a beautiful death. So when I ask AI, can it help us die better? What I'm really asking is, can AI help us live better? Now, we humans, we obsess about AI's ability to make us faster, more cost efficient, more productive, or even to automate the work we do. And that's why there's so many jokes about AI focusing on robots taking our jobs or taking over the world. Now, I don't want to sound Pollyanna-esque. The truth is, of course, AI is disruptive. And of course, people are going to worry. But what I want to persuade you of is that AI can also be a powerful tool to enable human flourishing. Getting there will require a reset in our relationship with AI and how we interact with it. And it starts with a simple question, which is, what if AI's real superpower isn't speed or productivity, but helping us live with more truth, boldness, and love? Now, I might volunteer as a death doula, but by day I'm a business school professor, and that doesn't involve as much shifting of gears as you might think. Both involve a lot of coaching and long discussions around meaning in life. As a behavioral scientist, I study what makes a life not just happier, but more beautiful. And by beautiful, I mean one marked by authenticity and boldness and connection, and infused with humor and grace, and animated with moments of awe and joy, which ripple outside all of our bodies, our families, and into the world. I explore the difference between what makes a life feel good and one that truly matters, and why we so often get the difference wrong. And so hundreds of, probably thousands of studies that we've run dive into that question. What makes a life meaningful versus happy? How do we confuse the two? And then how can technology distract us from meaning and purpose and beauty? Or how can it be redesigned to help us remember it? This work has never felt more urgent, because the regrets of the dying, they're not just about the past. they provide critical insight for our future. In 2017, Fei Li and I started teaching a class, AI for Human Well-Being. The number one reason why students take the class wasn't the technical underpinnings of machine learning. It was to understand what it means to be human. What does it mean to be flourishing? One student shared with me, I'm not taking the class for the technical underpinnings of AI, but more to understand what is meaning, what is life, and what creates a meaningful life. That student got an A. All right, so what we've found across disciplines and cultures and even generations is that a meaningful life is marked by these things, the same things that people look for on their deathbeds. Authenticity, which is living in alignment with what you truly value, not what the algorithm suggests, not what your LinkedIn profile suggests, but what brings you alive. I love this quote. At any moment, you have a choice to make, one that either leads you closer to your spirit or further away from it. Boldness, which is not about being fearless, it's about dreaming bigger dreams and creating bigger impact on the lives of others. It's about being open and resilient toward change, even when the future feels uncertain. And the last is love or connection. I use them interchangeably, but it's the most human of all. It's about seeing others, serving others, and being seen in return. So these aren't lofty ideals. They're deeply practical, and they're increasingly urgent in a world where AI is reshaping the way we work and relate and make meaning. So the real challenge isn't how do we train AI to be more human? It's this. How do we stay human while doing it? And that's the question that our students grapple with. It's the question we all must wrestle with. And it's the question that just might determine this next chapter of innovation, which can lead us more fragmented or more alive. So, authenticity. When I first started learning about how to be a death doula, I heard this story about Jesus. Now, I later learned that this is an ancient Jewish story about a rabbi, but the way that I learned it, it was about a woman named Jesus. So I'm going to tell you that story. Jesus had heard a rumor that when you die, the divine comes to you and asks you a question. So she wanted to know what it was. She managed to die. And then she came back to life because she had a near-death experience. This is a metaphor, a story. So she came back and her friends surrounded her and said, did you get asked the question? And she said, yes, I did. I wish it had been, what did you learn on this time on earth? And she said, but it wasn't. So her friend said, well, what was it? And she said, I thought it was going to be, what did you achieve? But it wasn't. So they said, okay, what was it? And she said, it was Jesus. Why weren't you more Jesus? And I love this story, even if it's not exactly accurate, because it rings so true. Authenticity isn't really about, it's truly about living in alignment with the things that are truest to you. It isn't a fixed state. You aren't authentic or not. It's this ongoing practice of being true to you, aligning your actions and your words with your behavior, your deepest values and beliefs. And in a world which is increasingly shaped by systems that predict and optimize and calculate, authenticity makes us unpredictable in the very best way. It allows for nuance and imperfections and contradictions and creativity and instinct and choice. It enables us to live not just efficiently, but beautifully. And part of that process is finding your own story. So we generate vast amounts of data living in the day-to-day, and it can be so hard to find yourself in the midst of the goings on of the day. Fortunately, one thing that AI is great at is finding the signal through the noise and teasing out patterns and meaning buried in huge, chaotic data sets, which include our lives. And that's why I ask my students to, number one, spend no time with AI and just take 1 week and understand what are beautiful moments that define their lives. And in that process of finding the love and the humor and the joy and the serendipity and the grace in their lives with no technology, they start to learn who they are themselves more. These visually vivid moments are more lasting, they're more memorable. They create states where people want to sustain that reality. By doing this, it takes the first step in allowing them to know themselves. Now, once they start to understand themselves more deeply, without AI, they can start to calculate and pull together and capture stories of their lives that have defined them. We call them signature stories, intriguing, authentic, involving stories that define them. So once they collect those stories, we use a custom GPT, which pulls in all of our books and writings and cases that coaches students on how to tell those stories more effectively and in ways that allow them to see what is more authentic to them. So they don't just take the answers GPT creates and helps them bank. They work with GPT in a private way that's interactive. And that's the way that they start to extract more meaning. And we even give the chatbot a personality so it manifests levity while working with the students. All right, boldness. If authenticity is about being true to yourself, then boldness is about taking greater risk, being open to change, and having the conviction to manifest that version of yourself and create the world you want to inhabit. It's about using conviction and power and creativity and courage to unlock these dreams and build a better future for everyone. Can AI help us boldly solve previously unsolvable challenges that humanity faces? As I said, boldness is not fearlessness. It's the willingness to embrace the possibility of transformation, even if that's a scary idea. It's this muscle of inner courage that lets us choose growth over comfort, to risk vulnerability in pursuit of truth, and to meet the unknown with curiosity. Boldness is found in these big moments as well as small moments. For one of my friends, boldness showed up when he got divorced after many, many years, and he found himself sitting next to a woman in a Parisian cafe, and he summoned the courage to ask her out. She said no, but that was still bold. The fact that we can all imagine these small little moments and even how hard it was for him to do that remind us that opportunities for boldness exist in the day-to-day. Now, boldness is difficult in part because we're terrible at imagining ourselves changing. In fact, in a set of studies that my colleagues did, they asked people to imagine themselves in 10 years, values, personality. And they also asked them to imagine themselves 10 years ago. Inevitably, people said they had changed so much in the last 10 years, but inevitably, they also said they would not change at all in the next 10 years. Neurologically, humans are not really wired to imagine how much we are able to change. And when we do, even worse, neurologically, it shifts. When we do imagine change, it feels hard. And so you can imagine how hard it is to change in our organizations. So how can AI help us with that? How can it help us be more open to change? And this is particularly hard when large language models are trained on the world as it is or how it was, not on how it could be. That means AI tends to be risk averse, cautious, and bound by data, at least to some degree, even in contexts where they allow for a hypothesis in the future. Boldness allows humans, with the help of AI, to make those leaps, to imagine new worlds, to challenge unjust systems and rewrite stories. Boldness is about how we evolve beyond what we know, imagine now. So it's on us to unlock AI's boldness and to push these models into solving previously unsolvable challenges. In our AI for Human Flourishing class, we ask the students why they're taking the class, and they inevitably have so many bold goals, unsolvable problems in health, mental, physical, emotional, in climate, and a lot of the challenges in physics, in chemistry, in social science are often possibly tackled with generative science, with models that are born from these scientific fields that allow our students to say, instead of what could possibly go wrong, what could possibly go right? So we turn to generative science. While AI trained large science models to find patterns leading to new breakthroughs for humanity, new small molecule drugs, new vaccines, new battery chemistries, and that's just scratching the surface of what's possible. For example, at the University of Chicago, Dr. James Evans uses AI models to predict the next big scientific breakthroughs. The idea is by mapping thousands of research papers and conference papers and personal connections across disciplines at a scale no humans could manage alone, it is possible to find neglected spaces where unexpected synergies can be found and new innovations can be unlocked if we bring the right people and ideas and tools together. AI, in other words, gives us these new tools to empower us to think more boldly and creatively about how and when we innovate. When we're bolder about our work, we work better. And by using AI to support research processes, in other words, we're not just working faster and more efficiently, we're working in novel ways that enrich our thinking, broaden our horizons, and dream bigger. One of my close friends is a passionate songwriter, but a terrible guitar player. And so she's been using Sono, the AI music generator, to create backing tracks that she'd never be able to play on her own. It used to be a rock star, you needed 3 chords and the truth. And now AI is actually making it easier for my friends, anyone, to be able to more boldly manifest their dreams, not just in science, but also in art. This has been life-changing for her, and perhaps that's what matters most toward the goal of authenticity and boldness. And last is love. So let's talk about connection and love. I use these words interchangeably because when we talk about connection, we're often talking about the act of seeing and valuing humanity in other people, in other systems, in nature, approaching someone with love. It's through this type of connection that we create belonging and safety and generative joy. So to ground this idea and to close this talk, I invite you all to close your eyes right now. I want you to take a slow breath in. Hold it at the top. And exhale slowly. Let your body begin to settle. Feel the ground beneath you. Imagine someone you love deeply. See their eyes, their smile, and notice how you feel right now. In this moment, you feel seen and loved, unconditionally known. And I want you to recall a beautiful moment with them. Let that feeling live in your chest. You can embody that moment at any time. Now I want you to open your eyes. In studies that we and other researchers have done with this loving kindness meditation, we'll ask people after they do that versus other types of meditations to act toward others, to define happiness, and they do so in ways that are more meaningful, not excited. They act toward people in ways that are kinder. They give up seats to others when taking the bus, and kids trained on this meditation give more stickers to other kids. Stickers. Love, it turns out, is contagious. And while AI can't bridge all of our differences or heal our wounds, it can help us show up with more grace. So when someone steals your lunch or interrupts your idea at the meeting, a Gen AI can let you push a button and instantly change your tone of your email to reflect a better version of you. So suddenly you've transformed from I'm furious to I'm sensing a growth opportunity for both of us. Now, some of you might recoil a little bit from this idea. Will these technologies help us grieve and heal in new ways, or merely be monetized and exploited? It's up to us to figure that all out, to figure out how to use these evolving technologies to promote human flourishing and preserve our ability to amplify meaning and flourishing and beauty and the relationships we care about the most. So, in closing, I wanted to come back to this idea of a beautiful life. During the pandemic, my friend Safi and I, we had weekly chats on Zoom about what is a beautiful moment that you just had that week. And we found over 2 years of doing this that we ended up not only having better memories of these moments, they were visually vivid and rich and elevating and connective and often transformative, but they also made us look at life differently. Is this my beautiful moment? Beauty, we found, isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's the feeling of being deeply alive. And so the question is, how do we make love and beauty and grace and awe and humor more visible in how we live, lead, and connect? Because this goal is not to outsource those experiences to machines. It's to use AI to augment what we do best, to reflect our values and elevate our awareness and turn our truth into action. The point here is that AI can't teach us to love, but it can help us express more love more often, more clearly with care. It can't create beauty, but it can help train us to see it more. It can't replace humanity, but maybe it can help us become more human. There's a poem I love by Joseph Basana that's close to my heart, and that speaks to this challenge. It's entitled "For a Student Who Used AI to Write a Paper." And he writes, "I know your days are precious on this earth, but what are you trying to be free of? The living, the miraculous task of it? Love is for the ones who love the work." That's the invitation, to love the work of being alive and to use AI not to escape that work, but to lean into it, to live more truthfully, to love more openly, and to connect more deeply. We have a choice. AI can be more banal, or it can be beautiful. It can automate, or it can amplify. It can flatten our humanity, or it can make us flourish. So I hope you ask yourselves, what does this mean to you? What do you hope AI will unlock in your own lives? So at the end, I want you to be invited to understand what creates a beautiful life for yourself. And remember these stories of the regrets of the dying. They aren't warnings, they're reminders for you to remember what is truly important to you, how to live with intention, and have the freedom to choose who we want to become and who we want to work with. Whether we're individuals or institutions, these choices matter, especially in a moment shaped by the powerful and unpredictable technology. It's a beautiful world out there. And if we're intentional, AI can help us protect that beauty and extend it and share it. Thank you. I love you.